Revealed, 12 spine-chilling Reddit horror stories of cursed encounters and sinister secrets. As Jenna hurried toward her car, the chill in the air danced menacingly across her skin. The sun dipped low, casting long, eerie shadows across her once charming street. Maplewood had a reputation for friendly neighbors and safe walking routes. But lately, something felt off, wrong. There was a creep in the early evening noises that turned everyday sounds into something sinister. Flickering porch lights, laughter echoing strangely, and whispers skirting the edges of her hearing just sent shivers down her spine. "Are we really going to play that game?" Sam asked as he peeked into his sister's room, a hint of nervousness creeping into his words. Lily shrugged, eyes wide. "Reddit says it's cursed." The day started like any other, Jenna shuffling through her routines, saying hello with a practiced smile, feeling the warmth of her neighbors. Until they didn't feel like neighbors anymore. The familiar faces began to morph into something unrecognizable, as grotesque as the tales spun on the neighbors' front porches under the bruised twilight. In a low whisper, Sam continued. "Cursed stuff has been happening." They showed a video. A lady turned into something that wasn't her. His words hung in the air, thick as fog, yet Jenna willed herself to laugh it off. Just kids, she thought, until the basement creaked, breaking their laughter with a harsh snap, echoing deep and low. Her heart thudded, a pulse quickening in the silence, spiked by something more than childhood imagination. Was there really a curse? Was she imagining it all? It began with lights. They flickered sporadically, almost mocking her attempts to find comfort. When she closed her eyes at night, those shadows whispered, "Run." Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night were thick with an unnatural air. Jenna felt it in the rumbling shadows, the way they curled darkly around her children's giggles. When her neighbor, Mrs. Green, laughed, it was a cackle that seemed to tear loose and unravel in the wind, disintegrating joy into dread. The peppy tunes from another home dulled into wailing, dragging on like the agony of suffering long lost. "Where are you, sweethearts?" she called, heart racing, as she now recognized a whispering dread clawing at her sanity. The house, that once provided solace, twisted into a spiraling mausoleum of memories. Lily's favorite dress left crumpled, Sam's toys scattered like offerings to the lurking unknown. Jenna dashed outside, eyes darting from shadow to shadow, familiar faces now cold and gaunt, merely watching with eyebrows knitted in shared suspicion. Panic mixing with despair, fear clawed deep inside her as she approached a group of them. "Have you seen Sam and Lily?" she gasped, catching glimmers of their disbelief. Silence weighted the air as they exchanged glances, marked by something terrible and unspoken. A shiver slunk down her spine. Had she misjudged this so-called community watching over her? As the echoes of despair echoed in her heart, she stumbled back into her thoughts, her family's history hidden away in delicate threads. What if the legends had roots in truth? She had to find them, but long-forgotten secrets stirred restlessly behind her. As she plunged into the inky blackness of the school gym, breath quickened, each corner hiding a veiled menace, and she could feel it, that the darkness of Maplewood was savoring the right moment to consume her whole. What if those chilling legends had something to do with her? Jenna's pulse raced as her foot caught on something, an abandoned backpack, old and tattered, a forgotten remnant of someone's innocence long before darkness draped itself over Maplewood. She felt the weight of every moment hung heavy in the air, each breath drawing in dread. Every creak echoed like a taunt, her children's absence morphing into a sickening descent into despair. "Sam, Lily, where are you?" she breathed, the words almost a whisper, swallowed by the shadows. The gym was vast and suffocating, a cavern of memories and ghosts. Dust motes floated in the stray beams of moonlight slicing through the grimy windows, exposing the truth of what lay behind the veneer of normalcy. The sound of shuffling caught her attention, a whisper of something lurking, waiting. She stepped cautiously, her heart pounding like a drum in a forgotten ritual. The sudden sound made her stop. A scream sharp, splitting the night like glass, echoed through the empty hall. It was her children. She knew it. Panic surged in her chest as she spun around, scanning the darkness for the source. "Mom." Sam's voice floated toward her, weak and trembling, tangled with fear. "Help! Help us!" Jenna dashed toward the sound, furiously pushing aside the suffocating shadows. "I'm coming. Hold on." But as she ran, the halls twisted, an unending maze that seemed to rearrange before her. The light in her mind flickered like those cursed bulbs outside, drowning her thoughts in a haze of anxiety. Turning a corner, she stumbled into another room, a locker room, blinds pulled askew, casting strange shapes across the floor. A soft sob struck her ears, mingling with the cruel, echoing laughter that darted in from nowhere. Her skin prickled. "Sam! Lily!" she yelled, desperation twisting her voice. Light flickered overhead again, hardly illuminating the space, but she saw movement in the corner. Her eyes widened as two figures emerged. Indistinct and blurry. Were they her children? Confusion seized her. They looked pale, gaunt, their expressions void of recognition, almost as if they floated above reality. "Mommy?" Sam's voice sounded hollow, like a glass jar tapping against a wall. But his eyes, they were not the same sky blue she cherished. They held shadows swaying in kaleidoscopic darkness. "Come here." Jenna reached out, feeling panic climb up her throat. "I'm here. It's okay." But as she extended her arms, the figures began to dissolve, fading like smoke. The cruel whispers crescendoed, swirling around her, feeding into her worst fears, echoing, "Run. Run." She spun around, the world tilting. "No, you can't leave me." She lunged toward them, desperation clawing at her sanity. But as she brushed the edge of Sam's shoulder, there was nothing, only a chill, a creeping darkness that coiled around her heart. "Mommy," they murmured again in unison, their faces now weaving between familiar mirages and ghastly facades. Their mouths twisted into grotesque grins that made her stomach churn. In that moment, something shattered deep within her. She felt her thoughts fracture, each piece a mirror reflecting questions, doubts. What if they were already gone? What if the legends were right? The stories she had dismissed were haunting her, taunting her with painful truth. Maplewood had changed its colors, and deep down, she knew it was far beyond her control. "Stop!" she screamed, her voice piercing through layers of despair. They continued vanishing into the depths of shadow, as if Maplewood itself was conspiring against her. As her fear mounted, the door to the locker room slammed shut behind her, trapping her within. The laughter crescendoed, a chorus of eerie delight, resonating through the room. "Jenna!" a voice called out, low and sinister. It wasn't he, Sam, or Lily. It sent quivers of icy dread racing through her body, anchoring her in place. She turned slowly to face the voice, her heart thudding louder with each inch she turned. What stood before her could only be described as a silhouette, a deep blackness amid the dim light, with shifting features that barely hung together, yet twisted into something horrifically familiar. The entity seemed drawn from the darkest parts of her memories, the stories she had read but never truly believed. "What do you want?" she demanded, trembling. "Everything," it replied. Laughter filled the space, dark and sinister, flooding her ears, drowning out all rational thought. Jenna's heart raced, each beat a reckoning. She had to escape, had to find her children. Darkness tightened its grip around her once more. As she struggled against it, a thought pierced through the chaos. What if her search for them had awakened the horrors lurking just beneath the surface? With the real questions burning in her mind, she took one step back, preparing to flee. But just outside the door, a scuffle began, the unmistakable sound of children's laughter met with shrieks echoing from the shadows. "Sam? Lily?" Her breath caught, fingers trembling as she braced herself against that chilling laugh. The night was just beginning, and Maplewood was far from finished with her. The door shook violently, rattling on its rusty hinges as something outside pounded against it. Jenna's heart raced with panic, each beat a frantic reminder of time slipping through her fingers like grains of sand. "Get away from them!" she shouted, her voice breaking, roaring with desperation. The laughter echoed in response, mocking, taunting her beyond the walls. "Mommy!" The sound pierced through the cacophony, Sam's voice rising high like a fragile bird struggling against the storm. "Hold on!" Jenna screamed, fighting through the waves of shadow closing in around her. She hurled herself against the door, pounding it with her fists, trying to drown out the derisive laughter. "I'm coming for you. I swear." A sudden chill swept through the room, seeping into her bones. The darkness seemed to dance, shifting and swirling, an entity alive and breathing, feeding on her terror. Jenna stumbled back, clutching her arms tightly across her chest, as she felt a cold hand brush against her cheek, a shadow from the specter lurking nearby. She forced herself to look up, squinting to cut through the murky haze. "Show yourself," she cried. "What do you want?" Everything echoed the entity, its voice resonating like an ominous choir. The shadows thickened, the air heavy with dread. The unsettling weight pressed down on her, suffocating her. As she gasped for breath, Jenna formulated a desperate plan. She had to find a way through the door, but it felt like an impossibility. Just as she turned toward it again, the door cracked open, and a small hand reached through the gap. Panic gripped her heart, a beacon of hope mixed with dread at what might follow. "Mom!" Sam's voice trembled from beyond, barely audible, strained. "Sam!" she cried, lunging toward the door. The moment she touched the handle, the world around her warped, the shadows twisted, folding into grotesque shapes as something clawed at her mind. "No, let him go." The handle jiggled, then pushed inward. Within that instant, adrenaline flooded through her, and she drove her shoulder into the door, forcing it open wider. What met her gaze was far beyond anything she had anticipated. Sam and Lily stood, a few feet away, eyes wide with desperation, but their faces lacked any trace of recognition. The shadows flickered around them, forming a writhing mass that pulsed like a living beast. Jenna's heart sank. "Mommy, help!" Lily's voice cracked, but her innocent eyes showed a depth of terror Jenna couldn't comprehend. With every ounce of strength, Jenna refused to let despair rule her. "Stay close. Don't let them take you." She stepped forward, arms wide, desperate to embrace them, to shield them from whatever horror hovered in the background. As she moved closer, a different laughter filled the air, enchanting and dark, a lullaby mixed with madness. It wrapped around her, tugging at the very fabric of her resolve, pulling her into its tormenting embrace. Suddenly, the doorway erupted with a blast of cold air, freezing her mid-step, as a shimmering figure emerged from the shadows behind her. Children. A woman, with hollow eyes and a smile that defied existence, stepped into the dim light. "They're mine now," she whispered, her voice a venomous caress. Jenna stumbled back, breathless, dread pooling in her stomach. "No, you can't have them." Lily and Sam stood frozen behind the shadowed figure, their faces now devoid of emotion, deadened as if the life had been stripped away. Jenna screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the oppressive silence that followed. Desperation surged in her veins. She couldn't let them go without a fight, but as she opened her mouth to command them to run, another, sharper voice dripped like poison into her mind from the shadows. "It's too late." In that haunting moment of dread, a shudder ran through Jenna, and she knew something had changed fundamentally. A low rumble pulsed through the ground, reverberating into her very core. They were no longer just phantoms of her fear. They were entangled in a web deeper than she could understand. As her fingers clawed at her own sanity, a distant memory crept into her mind. Something about the legends, the stories she had once dismissed as myth, all converging, leading into a darkness she had unknowingly invited. Was there truly a way out, or had she sealed their fate the moment she set foot back into Maplewood? "Mommy," Sam whispered, his voice threaded with magic and despair, pulling her back into the moment. "What do you want?" Jenna pleaded, clutching at the edges of her reality. "Why are you doing this?" But the shadows merely laughed, swirling faster, and the grip on her children tightened. Jenna had to find a way. She had to discover what would it take to reclaim her children from this shadowy grasp. But the darkness gave no answers, only the chilling embrace of despair. Would she be able to fight back, or was it truly too late for redemption? With trepidation tightening around her chest, she took a shaky breath, ready to confront whatever nightmarish truth lay ahead. The hunt had just begun, and Maplewood still had its secrets locked tight. Jenna's mind spun, confusion gnawing at her thoughts as the looming figure flickered like a candle in the wind. "What are you?" she gasped, feeling her breath catch in her throat. The woman's hollow eyes bored into her, penetrating the thin veil of human certainty, bringing with them darkness that felt almost alive. "You know, dear," the specter replied with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "We are the stories whispered in shadows. The nightmares your heart has buried we are here to collect." "No." Jenna shook her head violently, trying to dispel the malignant energy radiating from the figure. But her children stood utterly still, like wax figurines frozen in an art gallery, their eyes wide yet unfocused. She could sense the tightening grip of the dark entity around them, tightening like a noose. "Lily, Sam." She stepped forward, each move feeling heavier than the last, as if she was wading through molasses. "Get away from her." The shadows shivered in delight, twisting into sinister shapes, lunging toward her with a malevolent hunger. Jenna's heart raced, pounding hard against her ribcage. Frantic thoughts flickered in her mind. She could run. She could pull her children away. But the cold grasp of despair was rooted in her veins, choking any will she had left. "Mom," the sound of Sam's voice trembled like a dying ember, competing against the chilling wave of laughter. The entity stepped closer, her form displaced, blending into the shadowy void behind her children. "Children, come to me," the woman sang, as if calling them from across a vast distance. "Leave this world behind. Embrace the dark." "No." A primal roar tore from Jenna's throat as she lunged forward, desperate and wild. But the chilling wind erupted around her, and she was suddenly pulled back, as if gravity had shifted. Jenna felt an icy tendril wrap around her wrist, yanking her away from her children, forcing her backwards. The shadows swirled and danced, casting grotesque shapes upon the walls. Time lost meaning. Seconds stretched into eternity as Jenna clawed at the invisible bonds holding her, her eyes locked on the flat expressions on her children's faces. Fear mingled with anger, and, beneath it all, a raw and unyielding love drove her. "Stop." Her voice shook, fighting against the cold, lifeless air. "You have no power over them." The figure's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, too unnatural. "You misunderstand, dear. They've always belonged to us. We simply waited for the right moment." A sickening realization washed over Jenna, as the pieces of a malevolent puzzle clicked painfully into place. The stories whispered in the dead of night, the curses hidden in history. Perhaps Maplewood was not just a town, but a trap, designed to ensnare souls like hers, like those of her children. "Your fear is our food," the woman continued, her voice smooth as silk yet grating like rusty metal. "You have fed it long enough, and now it craves a feast." "No, I won't let you take them," Jenna screamed in defiance. With a ferocious rush, she surged forward, reaching out for Sam and Lily, willing her love to bridge the void that separated them. Suddenly, darkness flashed, blinding her momentarily. When her vision cleared, the woman stood silhouetted against the wall. Sam and Lily had vanished, swallowed by the abyss. "Mommy?" Their voices echoed faintly, as if coming from a distance, a dark chasm that threatened to devour all hope. "No," Jenna screamed, fighting against the encroaching shadows that threatened to stifle her will. She had to find her children. She couldn't let the darkness win. Out of the corner of her eye, a flicker of movement caught her attention, an old, dusty mirror leaning against the wall, tilted askew. Jenna rushed towards it, her reflection warping in the shattered glass. As she peered inside, whispers poured out like a distant melody. Find the truth before it's too late. With that cryptic message echoing in her mind, she braced herself for whatever awaited her on the other side. Would she be able to confront the shadows of the past, or were they the only reality left in Maplewood? As she took a shaky step toward the mirror, Jenna's heart raced with both hope and fear, torn between redemption and peril. The world around her twisted once more into chaos, unfurling a new chapter of terror waiting to unfold. What hidden truths would she find in the terrifying depths? Jenna felt the temperature drop as she stepped closer to the mirror, the air thick with anticipation. Each heartbeat rang loudly in her ears, echoing like a war drum. The mirror, with its jagged edges and fogged surface, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. She reached out, trembling fingers brushing against the cool glass, and in an instant, her reflection began to ripple. The image twisted into something disorienting, a shifting landscape of shadows and eerie whispers. "Don't be afraid," a voice cooed, soft yet laced with an undercurrent of malice. Jenna recoiled momentarily, staring into the depths, her heart slamming against her chest. "Where are my children?" she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. A distant laugh echoed back, hollow and mocking, dissolving into the silence around her. The image settled, revealing an unsettling scene. It was the house from her childhood, dark and dilapidated, but it felt almost alive, beckoning her into its haunted embrace. "Mommy?" The voices of Sam and Lily flickered around her, drawing her in. Their cries bounced off the walls of her mind like a trapped bird. This was where she had to go. But as she spoke their names, the shadowy figure appeared in the mirror again, her smile now sharper, teeth glinting like daggers. "Do you really think you can save them?" the specter asked, her tone dripping with mockery. "They belong to us now just like you." "No," Jenna screamed, feeling panic bubble within. Her instincts surged. She would not let fear imprison her. Acting on pure adrenaline, she pressed her palm against the mirror's surface. A sudden surge of energy coursed through her body, as if the glass had become a portal, a bridge connecting her to a terrible reality. The mirror responded, swirling and twisting the world around her, drawing her into its shadowy maw. With a violent yank, Jenna was pulled through, plunging headfirst into darkness. She landed hard on cold, unyielding floors. Dust danced in the stale air, illuminated by a faint sliver of light slicing through a cracked window. Jenna's heart pounded in confusion as she shook off the disorientation. She glimpsed her surroundings. The place was familiar, yet far more sinister than she remembered. "Lily, Sam." Jenna's voice echoed in the empty hallways, but no answer came. Instead, shadows flickered along the walls, whispering secrets lost in the folds of time. She hesitated, fear wresting her thoughts. This was not merely a search. It was a battle for their souls. Ahead, an old nursery door creaked open on its own, revealing a dimly lit room. Inside, she could see faded toys strewn about, a rocking chair swaying gently as if someone had just risen from it. Jenna stepped in, dread pooling in her stomach. "Why did you bring us here?" A little voice whimpered from the corner. She turned to see a small figure, a child, but not Sam or Lily. The child sat frozen, pale as the drifting fog outside, eyes wide with terror. "They come for the lost ones," the child said, pointing a trembling finger towards the door. Jenna's heart sank. "Where are my kids?" she demanded. The figure stammered and glanced around, as though the shadows themselves were listening. "Behind the walls they're trapped, they can't hear you," the child said, before a shuddering gasp cut off his words. Jenna had no time for fear. She had to act quickly. Suddenly, she heard a faint whimpering from within the walls, as if Sam and Lily were calling her. She dashed to the nearest spot, pressing her ear against the cold surface. "I'm here," she shouted. "I'm coming for you." But a shrill laugh erupted behind her, sharp and cruel. The specter emerged from the shadows, her presence swallowing the room. "You should have stayed away, dear. Now you're part of the collection." Jenna felt the walls pulse with despair, wrapping around her like a suffocating fog. With a surge of willpower, she stepped back, ready to fight against the encroaching darkness. "I won't let you take them. I'll find a way. Then you'll face the consequences," the entity hissed, her form starting to distort, merging with the shadows that threatened to envelop the room. Jenna gritted her teeth. There had to be a way out of this. She turned, searching for anything, any glimmer of hope in the pitch black around her. "Remember the truth before it's too late," echoed in her mind. What had that mirror revealed? As Jenna sprinted toward a looming shadow in the corner, she felt the darkness clawing at her heels. Would she uncover the secret to her children's fate, or would she vanish into the dark lore of Maplewood? Just another story lost to time? With every step, the energy surged, a confrontation edging closer. And then, she stumbled upon a hidden latch, pulsing like a heartbeat. Would it lead to salvation or despair? The choice loomed, and time was slipping away. Jenna's fingers trembled as she fumbled with the latch, a cold sweat trickling down her back. The air crackled with tension, and she braced herself, heart thundering, as the dark shadows twisted around her. Each beat felt like a countdown, reminding her that time was not on her side. With a sudden twist, the latch clicked open, and the door swung outward, revealing an inky corridor stretching into darkness. A heavy breath caught in her throat as she peered into the yawning void ahead. The distant wails of her children echoed from somewhere within, a siren-esque call that pulled her forward. "Jenna, don't go." The boy's voice warned again. "It's not safe." Ignoring his plea, she plunged into the corridor, the wood groaning beneath her feet. The flickering shadows danced around her like ravenous spirits, and for a moment, she thought she could see faces, twisted and tormented. It fueled her panic, but she pressed on, driven by the desire to find Sam and Lily. "Mommy!" Their cries rang out again, mingling with the whispers growing louder, more insistent, wrapping around her like a thick fog. "Help us!" Jenna stumbled, nearly losing her footing. She felt the cold grasp of dread pooling in her stomach, her instincts clawing at her to turn back. Yet, a flicker of resolve ignited. She couldn't abandon them. The walls seemed to throb, as if they were alive, feeding off her fear. As she moved deeper into the darkness, the disembodied laughter of the specter slithered through the hallways, weaving through her thoughts. "You're too late," it taunted, echoing, taunting. "What makes you think you can save them?" "Shut up," Jenna screamed, the sound reverberating against the damp walls. Each step felt heavier, the shadows thickening like fog, pressing against her lungs, suffocating. She squinted into the darkness, heart racing. Up ahead, a light flickered. Hope surged. "Breathe, Jenna. Just breathe." As she approached, the light transformed into a glowing orb, pulsating rhythmically, casting odd shapes around the corridor. Was this a beacon? Would it lead her to her children? A familiar voice cut through the haunting laughter. "Mommy, we're in here," Sam called, his small voice fragile yet urgent. The sound ignited adrenaline in her limbs, and she raced towards the light, desperately tugging at the cold wood of the door that the sound seemed to emanate from. "Hold on." The specter's chilling laughter erupted again, cutting into her resolve. "You're running out of time. The door to truth will close forever." Ignoring the fear that tangled in her chest, Jenna surged forward, breaking through the doorway to reveal a room dimly lit by the orb. It was a twisted version of her old nursery, toys scattered, but with an unsettling presence. Shadows clung thickly around the edges, writhing as if alive. "Where are you?" Jenna cried, scanning the room. The light flickered, directing her gaze towards a corner blocked by a dark barrier of swirling shadows. Behind it, she could hear them, her children's soft whimpers, trapped and afraid. "Mommy," came their chorus again, laced with desperation. Determination reigned. She had to break through, but as Jenna reached out to touch the barrier, a gust of wind swept through the room, slamming the door behind her. The specter materialized again, this time closer, her eyes burning like coals. "Look upon the truth of your choices," she hissed, the shadows swirling at her command. Jenna's heart pounded as the light dimmed, revealing her children partially consumed by a seeping darkness, faces twisted in fear. "No," Jenna shrieked, reaching out as they echoed her terror, their eyes pleading for rescue. "Mommy, help!" Sam cried, tears glistening as they fought against the tendrils of shadow creeping around them. Desperation clawed at Jenna. She knew she had to act. "Don't lose faith. Fight!" she shouted, though uncertainty tinged her voice. With a surge of courage, she pressed her body against the shadowy barrier, calling upon every ounce of love she had for her children. "I will save you. I won't let this darkness take you." The air thickened with tension as she bellowed, and suddenly, the orb exploded with light, washing over her and illuminating the shadowy figure. Silhouettes danced wildly as the barrier trembled, filled with Jenna's will, pushing back the darkness inch by inch. Could it be enough? As the shadows writhed in anger, Jenna felt the balance shifting. But then a piercing scream cut through the cacophony, both a warning and an invitation. "Mommy!" The cry came again, but this time tinged with a chilling echo that sent shivers down her spine. "Don't give up," she vowed, but her own hope began to waver, each heartbeat hammering louder, mingling with the chaos. Would she breach the darkness and save her children, or was she merely feeding the trap, The shadowy figure smiled, teeth gleaming, whispering threats that tangled with her thoughts. Time is running out, Jenna, and just like that, the room felt as if it was collapsing around her, shadows clawing at her sanity, and real despair sank deep into her bones. Would she be able to stand strong enough against the tide of evil? In that moment of darkest uncertainty, the world around her felt as though it was about to pull her under. Would she grasp victory or drown in the abyss? The answers were lurking, hidden behind the very shadows that whispered her name. Jenna braced herself, veins pulsing with adrenaline as the orb's blinding light illuminated the terrified faces of her children. But the moment couldn't last. Shadows lurked at the corners, creeping back towards them like predatory beasts, and the specter loomed, sinister and confident. "Mommy, please." The pleading in Sam's voice wrapped around her heart, squeezing tighter. "Help us." Jenna felt the walls closing in, every heartbeat echoing with dread. The specter's laughter rang in her ears, a discordant symphony of mockery. Its eyes glowed, reflecting a twisted joy. "You think love can save them? Love has no power here." Ignoring the taunts, Jenna pressed harder against the barrier. "You're wrong," she shouted. "I believe in them. I believe we can overcome this." But each word felt weaker, drowned out by the ominous laughter that morphed into a low growl, vibrating through the air. Jenna's resolve wavered as she struggled against the smothering darkness, the stench of decay wrapping around her like a noose. Then came a shift, a rustling at the threshold of her mind. "Mommy." Lily's voice surged through the chaos, unwavering. "You have to remember. You promised." Memories flooded in warm afternoons filled with laughter, whispers of secrets shared beneath starlit skies. The ghost of her children's laughter ignited something within her, a spark of determination. Jenna closed her eyes, focusing on that pure love, their bond stronger than any darkness. "I want to let you take them," she yelled, and with a raw scream, she threw herself forward, channeling every ounce of her strength into a wave of luminosity. The orb burst forth with an explosion of light, scattering the shadows like leaves in a storm. "Foolish woman!" The specter shrieked, its voice slicing through the light as it tried to maintain its grip on the room. The shadows shrieked in agony, retreating momentarily from the brilliance. The air crackled, charged with energy. Jenna reached out towards the barrier, eyes locked onto her children. They were barely visible now, silhouetted figures within the dark, their faces twisted in fear and hope. "Just a little longer," she pleaded. The power of her love sparked brighter, the barrier shuddering, beginning to fragment. But the specter wasn't done. With a furious roar, it extended its arms wide. "Your hope is nothing. It will consume you." In a blink, the shadows surged forward, enveloping Jenna, pulling her into a chasm of despair. Panic clawed at her throat. She fought but felt her resolve beginning to slip. Thoughts began to blur, as memories twisted into nightmarish fragments, moments of failure, abandoned promises. In this chaos, Jenna clutched her heart, grounding herself. "No," she screamed. "I am their mother. I will not fail them." The light surged again, brighter than ever. It tore through the darkness, illuminating forgotten corners of her mind, illuminating the truth. The love that existed in its purest form could withstand this evil's grasp. The shadows recoiled, shrieking with rage as the light pierced through their inky forms. Jenna pushed harder, every muscle straining, tears streaming down her face as she felt the connection to Sam and Lily tightening once more. Their fears clawed at her heart, urging her on, but then silence fell. Sudden, heavy, and cold. Jenna blinked, realizing the world around her had transformed. She stood in a hollow room, the specter's laughter extinguished, the nursery's familiar essence but distorted. What had just happened? Fear crept back in. The glowing orb had dimmed, leaving only a glow within the hazy shadows. "Mommy," a voice echoed, but it was different now, an unnatural whisper seeping through the air. "We're here." Cold fear slithered down her spine. The shadows shifted around her, thickening, more pronounced. She stumbled backward, her heart racing. "Sam? Lily?" But their cries felt distant, slipping through her fingers like sand. Suddenly, the door she had entered through swung open, revealing a blinding light beyond. Fear clashed with hope as she glimpsed her children on the other side of the threshold. their faces pale and fragile. "Come on, Mommy," they cried. "We're safe here. Should she trust it?" Her pulse raced as she considered the tormented shadows behind her, growing restless, hungry for despair. Was this the escape she had been yearning for, or another trap, another cruel trick played by the specter? With a shuddering breath, Jenna took a step toward the light. But as she did, the shadows reeled back, gathering strength, coiling around her. "Time is running out," Jenna the specter echoed, its voice now blending with everything surrounding her. Jenna's heart raced erratically. She needed a decision, and she needed it fast. Would she leap toward her children, into an uncertain salvation, or linger in the familiar embrace of darkness? Moments stretched, weighing heavy on her soul. And that choice it loomed before her, delicate and lethal, as shadows threatened to swallow her whole. Once more, where would she choose to stand? Jenna's breath quickened as she stared at the light, its brightness promising safety, yet overwhelming in its intensity. Every ounce of her instinct screamed to run toward her children. "They need me," she thought, but the specter's voice crawled under her skin, chilling her resolve. "Do you really think they can be saved?" It taunted, growing ever more present in her mind. "You're too late. You've already lost them." Her heart wrenched as Sam's face flickered in her memory, his innocent eyes now clouded with anguish. "No," she whispered, stepping back, the shadows flaring around her like ravenous wolves. "Choose." The specter howled, slashing through the air, its laughter echoing in her ears like nails on a chalkboard. Jenna felt the hands of despair wrap tighter around her heart, urging her to surrender, to succumb to the familiar darkness. "They will never be whole again unless you, dear mother, become one of us." A surge of anger jolted through her, fierce and primal. "I'm not afraid of you," she shouted, adrenaline bursting forth. She stepped forward, breathing deeply to find her center, pushing back against the suffocating shadows. "I want to lose them." But as if mocking her, the shadows rippled, taking on wretched shapes, twisted facsimiles of her children. They reached out with ghostly hands. "Mommy, please, don't leave us." They didn't sound like her kids anymore, but echoes filled with anguish and regret. Jenna shook her head violently. "No, you're not real." The shadows flickered, morphing again, conjuring beautiful memories. The first time Sam had giggled, the way Lily's smile had lit up the room. Each recollection sent a fresh wave of hope coursing through her veins. "Remember the day at the lake?" she murmured to herself, focusing on that golden moment. She plunged into the ocean of her memories, searching for strength. The laughter, the joy, that's what we have. In the heart of the memory, she spoke their names like prayers. Sam, Lily, with each utterance, the bond twisted tighter around her, fueling her power. Light spilled forth, swelling around her. The specter shrieked, its voice cracking, bending like a branch under the weight of a storm. "Your love can't save you," it gasped, but the shadows bled, twisting away from her light. Jenna felt the pull loom closer, her children battling to break free in the distance. Suddenly, silence returned, wrapping around her like a shroud. The room dimmed, leaving only the softer glow of the orb hovering above. "What now?" she whispered. A thrum of uncertainty unsettled her, the shadows lurking just at the edge of the light, waiting for a lapse. "Mommy?" came the gentle whisper, almost hollow. The shadows fluttered nervously, skirting toward her. "Do you really mean it?" Jenna held her breath. "Mean what? Do you want to play with us?" They giggled, an eerie sound that lingered. "No, you are not my children." She stepped back, the memories crashing violently, fraying at the edges. A mocking echo filled the air, wrapping around her mind like a vine. "Everything you loved is lost. You cannot save them." Despair clawed her heart. Was she truly standing over the abyss? Jenna focused on the orb, its light pulsating in rhythm with her heartbeat, a living thing. Could this be the answer? The thought emerged unbidden, but could it bring them back? "You live within me," she realized suddenly, letting the truth wash over her. "If I am their mother, I carry them. Their voices, their love, it's here." With newfound strength, Jenna cried out, arms spread wide, casting aside hesitation. "Together, we will shine through the dark." The shadows quaked, retreating under the weight of her words. They yowled, forming into a swirling maelstrom of malice, their advance faltering. But the faint whispers grew louder. "Mommy," she strained to listen, throwing herself deeper into the light, feeling it feed off her will. "I'm coming," she screamed, stepping forward as the darkness struggled to coil around her limbs. The shadows screeched, relentless in their pursuit, rising again to reclaim her heart. Their grip was desperate. Arg, what if she couldn't? Hold on. What if the darkness swallowed her whole? Just then, from the depths behind the veil of shadows, a small voice broke through. "Mommy, we're scared." Jenna's heart shattered. She made her choice. "Then I will not be afraid." The air crackled. Shadows began to retreat. But with it came a fierce roar, echoing throughout the room. The specter's laughter morphed into a thunderous howl. "Foolish woman, you think you're free? The end is just beginning." The light flickered. Will Jenna's love be enough to repel the specter? Or had she just awakened a greater evil? The walls trembled as darkness and light began a fierce clash, and Jenna braced herself for the inevitable confrontation. The clash was deafening, a tumultuous roar that rattled the windows and sent a flurry of dust cascading to the floor. Jenna squeezed her eyes shut, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a caged beast. The flickering light seemed to beat in time with her frantic pulse, the orb above her swirling in erratic patterns. Each pulse sent a tremor through the room, creating an unsettling rhythm that echoed the war between shadows and illumination. "Mommy!" The voices echoed again, childlike and desperate, yet twisted by the shadows of despair. "Don't go, please, we need you." She fought against the darkness wrapping around her ankles, trailing up her limbs like cloying smoke. "I'm here. I'm right here," Jenna shouted into the void, hoping to pull them from the brink. The specter howled, a cacophony of rage that clawed at Jenna's mind. "You're running out of time." The shadows lurked, weaving among one another, coiling around her like snakes, their laughter shrill and mocking. "You're just a fleeting light, a spark destined to be extinguished." But Jenna's determination surged, fanning the flames of her resolve. With a fierce cry, she summoned the memories that anchored her. "Sam, Lily, I love you." The warmth of her love, a shield against the biting cold. Suddenly, the orb blazed bright as if acknowledging her promise, sending tendrils of light spiraling outward. It illuminated the room, casting away the shadows momentarily. But the relief was short-lived. The darkness fought back, billowing like a storm, thick and oppressive. Shapes twisted in the gloom, forming warped figures, clawed shadows that resembled the goo of those she loved. But their faces were grotesque, twisted with pain. "Mommy, why won't you come home?" they wailed. "No, you aren't real," Jenna screamed. "You won't take them from me." She surged forward, casting her arms wide, the flickering light bending around her as she leaped into the chaos. Each step felt like treading on shards of glass, potent with pain and fear. But she was undeterred. Each heartbeat matched the orb's pulsing glow, fueling her courage. A piercing shriek erupted from the specter as Jenna's resolve pierced the veil of darkness. The shadows writhed violently, contorting into hideous shapes that twisted and snapped at the light. "You have no power here," it roared, but Jenna pressed on, defiant. "Together, children, believe in us," Jenna shouted, desperately reaching into the shadows, into the core of the fear that enveloped her. She felt warmth, the phantom fingers of Sam and Lily's love reaching back toward her, igniting a flicker of hope deep within. Just when it felt like they might lose everything, like the darkness would swallow them whole, the orb exploded in brilliant light, banishing the shadows momentarily, illuminating the telltale outlines of what had once been the room. But something shifted in the air, a peculiar silence following the spiraling light. And then she saw it. The specter was retreating, but not defeated. It slinked back into the corners, laughing low and sinister. "This isn't over, dear mother. There are far worse things than despair waiting for you." Jenna's heart sank. She didn't know if this was victory or merely a reprieve. "What do you mean?" she gasped, fear anchoring her feet to the ground. The specter's smile was jagged, filled with sharp teeth that gleamed in the light. "You've only glimpsed the truth. The darkness has many layers, and it craves what you cherish the most." Suddenly, the walls trembled again, a deep rumble echoing in her bones. The orb dimmed, the shadows creeping back, hungry and relentless. Jenna's breath hitched in her throat. Could she truly fight this? What connection to her children remained when the threat only deepened? As the shadows advanced once more, ready to claim her, Jinna braced herself, forcing her trembling limbs to act, her voice steady. I want to lose them again. Outside, the wind howled, carrying ominous whispers, teasing with unknown dangers. Darkness swirled around Jinna, yet she stood firm. But what new horrors awaited her? What terrible truths lay hidden just beyond the veil? The storm had only begun. Jinna stood in the trembling heart of the nursery, shadows creeping around her like vultures circling prey. You want to take them, she screamed, defiance weaving through each syllable. She felt their love, tangling through the dark, a tether that anchored her to hope. Mommy! Sam's voice broke through the darkness again, thin and metallic. Help us! Each cry chiseled into her resolve, lighting her heart like a supernova. Beyond the creeping shadows, she felt the warmth of the glowing orb pulsing, answering her desperate thoughts. Tendrils of light flickered and cradled her, intertwining with memories of laughter and joy. Images spilled into her mind, the first steps, the giggles echoing around the park, bedtime stories full of adventure. Stay with me, Jinna breathed, squeezing her eyes shut, letting those moments fill her spirit. The air thickened, electrifying as the specter hissed from the shadows. You're losing time, Jinna. You'll never escape. It was mere venom and mockery. Its words dripped like acid on her hope. But she was done listening. Fueled by love and desperation, she pushed forward, screaming into the abyss. I claim their lives. I claim my own. The shadows paused, recoiling against her fierce proclamation. For a heart-stopping moment, Jinna felt them wither, felt the whisper of strength she had always possessed surging. With a fierce howl that split the air, Jinna summoned that glowing orb with everything she had. The light erupted when it seemed victory was impossible. It pulsed brighter and brighter, flooding the entire room with golden warmth. Shadows clashed against it, shrieking in a cacophony of horror and despair as the light carved a path through their twisted forms. Mommy, we're here. Don't give up. Sam's voice burst through, and Jinna felt something deep within swell her heart. Ignited by their cries, became a fortress within the storm. But the specter writhed back, its form shifting into an amalgamation of twisted memories, a nightmarish reflection of everything she feared. Failures, lost moments, all the time she felt unworthy. Your weakness draws them in, it croaked. They don't belong to you anymore. Shut up, Jinna shouted, climbing through the sea of darkness, clinging to the memory's power. I want to let your lies claim them. She reached the barrier, trembling hands extended to her children. You're my everything. Sam and Lily emerged from the gloom, their figures shimmering like reflections on water. Mommy, they whispered, the innocence shining through their wrecked faces. I'm right here. I'm coming. Jinna strained to move closer, fighting the frigid grip of despair as shadows snaked around her ankles, tugging her down into their depths. The specter's laughter echoed like a death knell. Pathetic. You can't save them, and you certainly can't save yourself. But Jinna would not yield. She felt a surge of light ignite deep within her, a chorus of love, hope, and commitment, strength forged through the years of being their mother. 1,000 nights of fear want to stop this light, she shouted. With a wild push, she thrust forward, diving into the barrier, and the shadows recoiled from the radiant force of love that bled fervently from her. The light danced around her, flooding the room with a brilliance that obliterated the shadows' nests of despair. The specter shrieked, retreating, but not before Jinna captured every ounce of her children's essence within her heart. Come to me. We'll find a way, she implored. And as Jinna stood at the threshold, the orb swirling with an energy that vibrated through her core, it began to illuminate the path ahead. A swirling portal opened before them, shimmering and alive, undulating with the rhythms of the universe. Sam and Lily reached toward it, faces glimmering with hope. Mommy, it's safe. Let us go. With a fierce determination, Jinna stepped through the threshold, hands outstretched. As she crossed into the radiant light, the specter howled, its form distorting into the void. This isn't the end, Jinna. You will never truly escape. But they were gone in an instant, catapulted through the shadows to the brilliance of the day. landed upon the cool grass of a sun-drenched field where the air vibrated with life, laughter, and the wide-open sky smiling down on them. The darkness had faded like a bad dream, replaced with vibrant hues and voices of children playing in the distance. "Mommy?" Sam tugged at her sleeve, light dancing in his eyes. Jenna knelt down, taking her children into the strongest embrace she could muster, relief spilling from her heart like rain on parched soil. "I'm here. I'm always here," she whispered, tears flowing freely. The warmth of love threaded through the bright world as shadows chirped their last from a distant corner of Maplewood. "The curse is broken," Lily chimed, her laughter ringing like bells. Finally free, they stood together, a trio of strength against what darkness had once threatened to consume. Maplewood, now far behind, felt like a fleeting nightmare faded into air. As they melded further into the glowing present, Jenna held tight, knowing their bond would not falter, would not fade again. They had conquered this together, shunning the night with every heartbeat. In that moment, her heart brimmed with the truth. She had not only saved her children, but reclaimed herself. "Let us go home," she smiled, breathing in the healing light around them. Home, where they truly belonged. And with every step forward through the sun-drenched field, Jenna knew that she would always protect them, for love was their greatest shield. Now, don't wait another moment. This is the time to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, so we can keep bringing you the best content out there. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this, ending your thoughts. Make this community incredible. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. Be a part of this journey today.